Hi, I'm Heather from Feehan Booktubes, and today is questions and answers because I wanted to. It sounded fun. I thought, why not? Have over 1,000 subscribers. I have been on Booktube for over a year. It's time. I can do this. So I'm wearing Viewer She Blocked Me, which is merch from Jess Owen's channel. If you love community, I'd recommend buying one of her shirts or mugs or stickers. I love her. I adore her. She asked me a bunch of these questions. In fact, all of the first questions are from her, so I have to rep her merch, okay? Okay. Just be aware that basically I will probably wear her merch a lot, so just prepare for that. I'm working on an affiliate link. She's not said that she's going to give me one, but I'm working on one, you know, like, I love her. Okay, let's see here. I'm waiting on my lunch to get here. So we'll see if we can do this all in one sitting. Probably not, but here we go. Okay, so Jess asked, what does your husband actually do? This is a joke because I really like reading about killers, and I describe my husband as a very mild-mannered administrator. I don't know what his job is. He works in the office for a log restoration, that's the log cabin restoration company. That's the cover story and I'm sticking to it. Then she asked my favorite dessert. I am not big on desserts. I am not a huge sweets person. I do not like things to be overly sweet. I do obviously love chocolate, although I prefer dark chocolate, but I like for my desserts to be creamy. So I like cheesecakes or kind of anything made with cream cheese or tiramisu, as long as it has like a creamy flavor and isn't overly sweet. I don't really care too much about cake. I don't really care too much about pie or cookies. I like creamy. I like cheesecake, and yeah, not a ton of variety honestly on the desserts, but I do really like tiramisu. Favorite book. My favorite book of all time officially is The Blue Castle by Montgomery, even though it is not necessarily quite the style that I read day to day these days. It is my favorite. It is about a 29-year-old who finds out that she has a year to live, and because of that decides to finally live her life. She gets out from the overbearing thumb of her family, and she goes and takes care of a girl. This is written by the author of Anne of Green Gables, so it's a contemporary in the 19-teens. And so she goes to take care of a girl who had a baby without being married, and because of that has been ostracized. The baby died and she is dying without anybody to really take care of her. She lives with her father, who doesn't take care of her. Like, he works, but he's not a nursemaid. And so she goes and does that, to the outrage and scandal of her very uptight family. And I love it because they're just like, what has gone into her? And she's just saying all the things that she's been thinking all these years. She has a romance and things get wrapped up in a nice little bow. The descriptions of the nature are extremely beautiful, but I just love her wit and her standing up to her family epically, and I adore it. I can open it to any page and tell you exactly where we are in the story. I've read it innumerable times, especially parts of it, and I just love her. Her name is Valancy. I wanted to name my daughter Valancy. My husband was like, no. I wanted to give my daughter the middle name of Valancy, and my husband was like, no. But I love it. Yeah, it's my all-time favorite. When did you start reading? K4. I have loved reading since the moment that I learned how to read, if not before that. There has never been a time where I did not enjoy reading, and I've actively read every possible opportunity for basically my whole life. Dream vacation, Italy. Jess is currently there, but Italy is my dream vacation. Yeah. Weirdest place you've read a book? Anywhere and everywhere. Church. I've read books in the middle of the sermon if I could get away with it. I've read them car, train, plane, outside, tree, gas station, middle of the store, checkout line, parties. Literally, I've I've read a book all the places and all the times. Have your kids ever heard a romance audiobook by accident? So I don't really listen to audiobooks because I have trouble listening to the story and hearing my children. But my middle child is 6 and he is really into reading. My oldest child, not so much. He is more of a math kid and that's what he enjoys. But my middle child likes reading. And so he will sometimes try to read what I am reading and I have to tell him, this is for adults. You can't read it. So that's awkward. Yeah. And then Naima from Naima's Reads asks, a book you hate. I have some books that I hate, that I despise. This one by Addison Cain, super abusive Omegaverse book. And after all of the crap that he puts her through and after, you know, holding her against her will and stuff, he then puts her in the bathroom while he has sex with another alpha. And I just cannot do it. I do not tolerate them sleeping with somebody else. And I mean, not in a poly way. Sleeping with somebody else outside of the relationship, I can deal with a lot of lack of free will. But I can't deal with cheating. I despise that one. This one I DNF'd. I think it's called The Mating. Dumbest character I maybe have ever read. I DNF'd it over a year ago. I'm still angry with this book. It's so obvious what is happening. And they're just like, la-di-da-di-da. And then she'll be like, oh, I almost had it. But then somebody talked to me so many times. I despise it so much. Why do we do this? There is no reason for doing this. Nobody is like, oh, this is really important. Let me not think about it again until somebody tries to kill me. Like, okay. I understand if maybe you needed to buy something from the store and then somebody said something and distracted you. That happens to me. But if like somebody is trying to kill me, I don't think I'm going to be so distracted by somebody saying my name that I completely forget to pick up on the clue that it's probably this person that's trying to kill me. I cannot stand it. I do not like when the reader is so much smarter than the main character. Give me a main character who is smarter than me, who is doing more clever things than me, who knows more than I know. Do not make it so freaking obvious what's happening and the main character is just like, I have no idea. I cannot stand it. I despise it. And this is the exact example of it. It just was the worst. Yeah, those ones. I have more, but you know, we can't do the whole video. Naima really just chose violence. She said, what would you do if Taylor Swift said she was stopping making music forever? Honestly, Taylor Swift has been talking about and writing about getting out of the game for 10 years. So I definitely expect this to happen at some point in the next 5 years. She's often talked about how women in music over 35 is just kind of an elephant graveyard of being forgotten. And so she's talked about how she plans on making music while the world tolerates her. And so I would think in the next 5 years she's done. In fact, I would almost be surprised if we get another album from her. She's obviously re-recording all the ones that were owned by her previous label. And so I don't know if we'll get one after that, truth be told. Yes, I'm used to this fear. Thank you. Then she says, if you had to choose between never listening to T Swift again and never reading again. Does anybody else like panic with these hypothetical situations? It's like you could say, I would give up tacos and then you can go and eat a taco. Like it doesn't matter. But I panic. I'm just like, but I don't want to choose between those things. I don't like it. For me, I have gone without listening to Taylor Swift before. My household, when I grew up, sacred music was the only thing that was acceptable, so I wasn't allowed to listen to anything. I could never go without reading though. I could not. There are other, as much as it pains me to say, there are other artists that I could listen to. I could not go without reading. Then Tamika said, what's your morning routine? I wake up, I grab my phone. I either wake up because one of the kids that I watch is here, which happens at 5:30 in the morning. Then he goes back to sleep, so I can sometimes go back to sleep, or I will read until my kids are awake. They wake up at 7-ish. Sometimes it's much earlier than that, but they wake up around 7. So once I have to get out of bed, I go and make coffee. My kids will either, I'll get them breakfast or they'll get themselves breakfast. And I will usually sit and drink my coffee and do whatever needs to be done first. So I either go on social media, I watch booktube, I work on my booktube video, or I read. That's usually the beginning of my day. Then she asked, how do you read so much? I am a fast reader and I read whenever I can, basically. There is nothing that I enjoy more than reading. All day, every day. And I read when I can. I read a lot. Reading makes me happy. I feel antsy if I haven't read recently enough. And so I read really quickly and I read a lot. I'll read when I wake up, I'll read when I go to bed, I'll read in the moments in the day. Maybe I'll have hours in the day, maybe I won't. You never can tell. I will read when I can. And it's amazing how much you can fit in that time. Are you going to PolyCon in 2022? I haven't thought about it. I don't enjoy groups of people. I can function very well in groups of people, but I don't particularly enjoy it. The only reason that I would go is to meet up with my bookish internet friends. So if you're going, let me know. Paige from Paperbacks and Lattes asks, have you ever wanted to write a book? As a child, yes. As a teen and adult, no. Again, Ella Montgomery read all of her books ever. I read them all as a child and teenager, and she talked a lot about writing. A couple of her characters, several of her characters are writers. And so because of that, I think that did really foster it. Plus, I was like, be an author, a waitress, a cashier, a teacher, an astronaut, a fireman, a nurse. Like those were like my career possibilities, and I was like, well, I don't want to do these things. So author, but yeah, no, I will never write a book, ever. I do not have stories that live in my head. I do not feel the need to tell stories. I am not good at it. I have no desire to do it. I am strictly a consumer of stories, not a creator. Then Megan from Meowfader asked, how can you read books about killers and the mafia but pay changeling, also known as side changeling, is too stressful? Well, I have a very specific reason for this. I do not like when the main character and or the love interest do not have the power in the story. So if there is an evil overboss or a council or the mafia boss or whatever has the power and they're like sneaking around because they're forbidden or whatever, I don't like that. It stresses me out, especially if we're getting the point of view of the villain and we're like seeing what he's up to and the main characters don't know. It stresses me out. I don't necessarily need my main character to have the power, but if she doesn't have the power, it needs to be the love interest that has the power. Like they need to be not directly under the thumb of the villains. It stresses me out otherwise. Like it just does. I cannot take it. So if the love interest and the main character, both, I don't care, if they are going around killing people, but they're good at it, then they have the power. But this is why often if I do read mafia books, I don't like reading about soldiers in the mafia. I like reading about the mob boss. I like him to have the most power. So even if things are happening, he doesn't answer directly to anybody. I don't like it. Don't ask me why. It stresses me out to have them directly answering to somebody who is a bad person who is controlling their life in some way. Don't like it. Do not enjoy. Ravioli Reads asks, something you didn't think you'd find hot but did while reading a book. I read a book in April, Ruthless Creatures by J.T. Geissinger. He is so alpha. He is so dirty kinky. And he wants to spank her. And she's like, you're not spanking me unless I can spank you. So something happens and she like needs a spanking and she's like, you said. And so he pulls his pants down, he puts his arms on the door frame, and he lets her spank him with like a hairbrush. And I did not think that I could be into it, but when I tell you that scene was so freaking hot, it was so hot. She pulled it off so well. Generally, I would say in books, I don't like my guy to be submissive, but there have been books that had that element that I really enjoyed, and so that always surprises me because I'm just not into it. It's not my vibe. I am more submissive. But it was a very hot scene. Lily Reads Romance asked, how did you decide your booktube name? So Hia is the first 3 letters of my name. Heather is the nickname that my dad gave me when I was a child. When I was picking a booktube name, I wanted booktube to be in it. But also I knew that HEA obviously is a term in romance. I wanted to do a romance specific channel. And so because the 2 things overlapped, I thought that it would be the perfect name. I love it. Obviously I say Hia Booktubes, but when people say my channel name, for them to say HEA makes it easier for other people to then know what to type in to find me. So I like it. I love it. Okay, she also asked, you just got kidnapped. Which main character would come and save you? So many. Rise or Farah from Akmath, Kate Daniels or Curran from Kate Daniels. I would accept any Kristen Ashley Alpha. Both main characters from Counterfeit Love by Jessica Gadziala. They'd be able to pull off. Just about every character I read, I feel like there's somebody who could get me. Mesmerized by These Moments asked, if you're inside a romance novel, which one would it be? See, I don't love this question because I only want good things to happen to me. Which is unrealistic, but also I'm just like, oh, but their backstory, oh, but they go through this thing, I don't want to go through that thing. I don't know. I feel like maybe a paranormal, not Chastely, but then that world is brutal. What's one that I could be in? Not Kate Daniels, also brutal. Ooh, I actually would not mind being in the Shadow Rider world by Christine Feehan. Would not mind that at all. Send me there. Beam as a lunga. Beam as a lunga. I don't know. It's one word. Asked, which book series do you want to have a crossover? I don't super care about crossovers. I've read a few, don't super care about it. But I think that a crossover between Suzanne Wright's paranormal werewolves and Lexi C. Foss's paranormal, it wouldn't work because hers is dystopian. But still, I think that those series having a crossover would be very interesting. And I think I would enjoy it. And then she also asked, the kinkiest book you've read. I read a lot of kink. I'm not going to lie to you. And there are a lot of books that have a specific kink in them, even if it's not on page every single chapter in the book. But I would probably go with Desperate Measures by Katee Robert. This has consensual non-consent, which is honestly one of my very favorite kinks to read about. And it also has a sex club, it also has sapphic, and it has group scenes, and what else was in there? I don't know, but there was a lot. And I loved it. It was my first Katee Robert, and the whole series, all of Katee Robert's books, have so many different kinks in them. And so if you like kinky books, you should really be reading Katee Robert. That's my advice. So, all right, those were all the questions. They were super fun. Thank you everybody for participating. I hope that this was entertaining in some way. I like doing this. I probably won't do it for another year or two, to be honest, but I really had fun with it. So thank you for participating so I can make the video. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.